Hello everyone, thank you for joining me as I discuss some of the things that are happening in the bike industry at the moment because it's hitting the headlines now outside of the industry as well, and it really is causing a big impact for a lot of businesses. I want to have a quick look at some of the main headline grabbers and how people in the industry have known and see this coming for quite a while and possible ways out of it. I should start by saying that I'm deeply sorry for all those whose jobs are affected by the problems that are going on at the moment. It must be awful. My sympathy is with them, and I hope things settle down soon and that everyone finds their right place. The headline obviously is Wiggle and Chain Reaction going into administration. But actually in the industry we've seen a load of things going on that you wouldn't necessarily have noticed as a cycling consumer, but you may have heard about but not really realised how it might affect you or its relevance or significance. I wanted to explain distributors' roles within the industry because unless you're in an industry that has distributors in this sort of way, it's not something you might see the significance or relevance of. The majority of the stuff I buy is from distributors. And that can be from pedals and valve caps all the way up to our bikes from different distributors. So they are a link between me as a bike shop and the manufacturer. Distributors generally work with a number of different brands. So rather than just one distributor distributing one brand, me solely reliant on one brand or its products, distributors generally have a portfolio of products and brands that they supply. And just in the same way that I as a shop choose the brands that we want to work with and we sell, so do the distributors. So the distributors will have, they might, if they do bikes, they will have some bike brands that they will distribute. And generally, if they're doing that, they also then agree to take on the warranty work and the servicing and the technical side of those bikes and things. Same with other products. A distributor might have an electronics brand that they work with. They might have one or two tyre brands that they work with, pedals, stems, seat posts, luggage, clothing, wheels, etc. And so they will have their own portfolio of brands that they represent in the UK market. Mostly, they'll be the sole representative of that brand. There'll be some brands that are across a number of different distributors. Tyres, for example, there's a number of different tyre brands that you can get from 3 or 4 different distributors. But most of the brands, certainly the ones we work with, we can get from one distributor. And what that means is that distributor focuses in on them. So the distributor makes a commitment to the brand that's saying, yeah, okay, you're going to be our pannier bags of choice. We're only going to work with you. And every client we go to, we're going to tell them the great things about your pannier bags. Now, from a brand's point of view, if I was, let's say, Met Helmets, that means I don't have to have my own salesman going around the country, going to every shop trying to convince them that Met Helmets are the best. So I don't have to pay for that. I have the convenience of someone else doing all of that for me. And all I have to do is give them a share of the profits, which for most brands, that is seen as worth it. That is seen as the sensible way of doing things. There are some brands really big, really strong, who don't work like that. Some that decide to do it all themselves and keep it in-house, but they're few and far between. Another benefit to the brands could be that they're getting to sell a large chunk in one go. So the distributors may well say, right, we are going to distribute, we're going to commit to distribute, your sunglasses will be the sole distributor of these. And the brand might say, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then you've got to buy this many and buy into this. Okay, fine. So the brands make one big sale, great, they know they covered the market. From the shop's point of view, That's brilliant, because rather than having to get to know a different person for every helmet brand, a different person for every clothing brand, a different person for every tyre brand, a different person for every wheel brand, etc., etc., etc. All I need to do is build a relationship with a representative from each of the distributors. Much easier for me to manage, much easier from a time point of view, and then from ordering products, much easier. We build up a relationship with the company, the distribution company. We get to know how they work, but also if we're thinking about ordering, if I need to order a tyre, it's far less efficient to have to go on to that specific tyre manufacturer's website, order that one tyre to be sent here. If I'm ordering a load of other things from a distributor who also does that tyre, and I can bundle them all in together as one big order. Much more efficient way of doing it. Distributors then also have a good way of sort of cross-pollination and bringing different brands together. So someone like Chicken Cycles, who work with Tifosi and Campagnola, quite often you'll see a relationship between Campag and Tifosi. You might see Wheels come in with a special offer of a set of tyres from a distributor's two brands put together as a nice sort of sales incentive. So now you can see that distributors play a significant role in the industry. They tie together all the shops and they have a real widespread presence over certainly all the independent bike shops, but and a huge presence for the brands. And so it has ripple effects, even when the smaller distributors go. So let's say there's a distributor that has 4 brands in it, and one of them's really holding it up and pulling its weight, and the others are just sort of nicer add-ons. If that one brand leaves and goes to another distributor, then the distributor that's left with 3 that weren't actually making enough to keep it going, that distributor goes under. That leaves 3 brands needing a route to market. Now, they could go directly to the shops, but that's expensive and labour intensive, because they might have to set up their own B2B website. They may have to start getting sales reps to go out and push the product. So they'll be looking for another distributor. Well, let's say they're a maker of pedals. Well, if all the other distributors have already got their pedal brands sorted, they don't need another pedal brand, then that brand's suddenly in a tricky situation. And that could be 3 brands from those 4, because one's gone. It could be 3 brands that are now in a difficult situation. Hopefully they'll go and find another distributor that will sort them out. But then another distributor goes, and another one, and another one. And all of a sudden, we've got a number of brands that are worried, struggling to find a route to market, finding they've now got too much stock. And so what do they do with it? Well, they might have to discount it to make it more attractive, or they might have to invest in setting up their own B2B. And life suddenly starts to get tricky. So if you've got distributors that are slowly starting to close down for whatever reason, you've got brands that are a bit jittery, and we've got people not spending as much money thanks to wars in Ukraine, Brexit, Liz Truss, those sort of things. So the spending crisis is very real, and in a retail environment, you notice that very starkly. Add on to that the fact that because COVID was such a big boom for cycling, everyone was predicting it's going to rocket, it's going to be brilliant, we're going to carry on like this for the next couple of years, seeing this sort of growth well into 2025, which means they've bought stock ready to do that. They've invested in bikes and forward orders ready to do that. which in a lot of cases couldn't be cancelled. So these big containers full of bikes and parts are arriving in the UK, landing on the shores, and they've got to go somewhere. So they start going to the distributors and then into the shops. Great, we're taking all the bikes we've ordered, this is lovely. And then spring comes along and it's not quite as good as it could have been, and summer's been a bit cold and wet, and bikes are still arriving, and all of a sudden shops are full. There's a bike in every place it should be. There's bikes in places there shouldn't be. Then your warehousing starts to fill up. And after a while, you have to speak to distributors and say, well, brands, I need you to hold off a little bit. Stop sending me quite so many. Okay, but we're still getting them. So they're filling up. They're having to get, this is happening from so many shops across the country that they're having to get extra warehouses, the brands and the distributors, to hold all the stock that isn't going into shops because it isn't being bought by customers. So everyone starts to back up, the whole chain backs up. Meanwhile, those containers are still coming in into these shores. There's only one realistic way of moving this stuff on, is to make the prices more attractive. And so purely to make space in the beginning and to reduce costs of storage, price reduction starts to happen. And price discounting is now rife. I mean, this is the best time, without doubt, the best time to buy a bike in the UK. And I can't believe it will ever be this good. Because there's so much stock in the market, whether it's for whatever item it might be. The problem then comes on that if people still aren't buying at that price, what do we do? If someone's paying for huge amounts of storage for products that won't shift, and it doesn't matter how cheap it is, doesn't matter how cheap a distributor makes a set of pedals to me, if I haven't got someone to come and buy those pedals, they're useless. Now, I could buy them really cheap in the knowledge that in the future someone will buy them, and at that point I'll have made loads of money on them, but I haven't got anywhere to put them. And same as other shops, we don't have anywhere to put them. Everywhere's full. So that pressure goes back on the distributors. They're all backed up. Their costs are skyrocketing, and then they're starting to close. And we've seen Too Pure, Palligap, More Large was one of the first really big one to go. And you may have heard of it, but you may not have known what their role was. We've seen one of the big distributors announce that they're stopping bikes. They're no longer do the bike brands that they were supporting. And that's some big brands now that don't have a home in the UK market. Yesterday, one of the other big distributors that we order from pretty much every day has announced that they're going to stop selling parts and accessories, and they're only going to sell bikes. Some of those brands have no idea where they're going to go now, because enough distributors have closed down that where do these brands go for their route to market? Well, you may have noticed in the Wiggle chain reaction sort of downfall, as well as Wiggle chain reaction, they've got their bike brands, Vitus and Nukeproof. They've also got Hotlines, a distributor. Now, Hotlines is where our shop and most of the shops in the country that sold Nukeproof got Nukeproof from. Well, if Hotlines go, I don't know how I'm going to get Nukeproof. It's where we would get Lifeline from and other brands. It's how independent shops had access to some of Wiggle's, or supposedly Wiggle's own brands. And what does that mean for someone like Nukeproof? If Hotlines has gone into administration, was their route to market, they're now looking for someone else to take them on. Now, someone might buy a mountain bike brand, but in my other video, you'll see that it's not as an attractive offering as it once was, an out-and-out mountain bike brand. Brilliant bikes, brilliant brand, but not necessarily going to be an instant thing to pick up. Even if they do they find a distributor for them? Because a lot of the distributors that are doing bikes have already got mountain bikes. what about the poor people working at hotlines? Will someone want to buy a distributor in a market where there's so many struggling at the moment? The industry is a mess. It's in trouble. People are still riding their bikes though. So at the moment, in my opinion, it's all down to the excess stock. But until that's washed through, bike shops, distributors, brands are going to find it really tough going. Now, wiggle chain reaction going under this, there's loads you can read about that and quite why it happened. And for all of these companies that have gone under already, it's not just about the industry, it's possibly about how the company was set up and how risk averse they were or whatever it may be. But it's not the end of it. There is without doubt going to be more casualties. We're now going into winter, which is already a difficult time for bike shops and the industry as it is. And will your local bike shop still be there come spring? I really hope so. I really hope that everyone makes it through this, but I don't think they will. My other video talks a little bit about the difference between certain things that are selling in shops, things that are still popular, and things that aren't, that maybe were 5 years ago. Why that might be, and how shops could change and adjust to this. And I'm looking for suggestions as well. Thanks for watching. Would be interesting to hear your feedback. GC Performance, a shop in Florida who do the odd YouTube video. I've listened to them and I know these problems aren't North Wales based. If a shop in Florida is experiencing exactly the same things that we are, this is a global problem at the moment, which means probably it's going to take even longer to get out of. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. Any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them, because this is a discussion that will go and go, and it could be through discussions about this sort of thing, we find sensible ways out of this mess.